So,
right. Now, we spoke about changes in terms of how you're managing the property, and I think one of the most talked about incidences during this pandemic has been the experience of a particular workplace cluster in Portmore. And, that is a company that's in the ICT sector. And I think this is where I'll bring Yanni in. There are now new health and safety protocols, that we have COVID-19 as our new reality. How has that affected your operations, Yanni?
Well, afternoon again, and thank you for having me. It has affected us in several different ways. One of them is the fact that, in April of this year, we had a 2-week lockdown due to the fact of the outbreak in the country and in specific the industry. And when we reopened, we were able to reopen with new protocols that was, further protecting the wellness of our employees in these facilities. But what it also did is it forced us into work at home. And it forced us into, and the overall industry was about 40% thereabouts in work at home. And in our company, we're up to about 80% work at home. And in July, we reduced that to about 50-50. So based upon the health protocols, and after watching things for a few months, we felt it necessary to bring back some of the people into the office and manage it at a 50-50 state for right now, which basically that's the max that we can do at the moment with the social distancing protocols that have been put in through the Ministry of Health and Wellness. So, it's tough in the sense that you have, half your workforce at home and half your workforce in the office. So half of your facility is not being able to be used, and therefore, that puts a pressure on your ability to pay rent and maintenance and that stuff, because one may think that because the people are at home, we're actually saving money. Yes, there's a saving, but it's not significant enough to speak about. The increase in our electricity costs have gone up significantly, specifically because one of the ways to help to keep the virus out of the air conditioning systems is bringing in more fresh air from the outside, which means that your units are running and working harder than they were originally set to do or originally built to do. So that draws more on the electrical capacity, which increases our expenses. We've also seen increases in cleaning staff and facilities and materials, because we're having to clean the desks and to clean the handrails and to clean the public areas more frequently in order to ensure that the safety of our team members. So, it has affected us. It has affected us tremendously, but we're trying to find a way in order to make this a part of our life going forward, and how we can continue to operate efficiently. One of them that we've been working on with the government thus far is to ensure that we can keep work at home a part of our model as a long-term plan. And the reason for that is not because we don't want to have facilities, but because we want that disaster recovery plan in place, that we're not squandering for it when in the middle of the pandemic, like we were in April. And our goal is to be somewhere between a maximum of 40% work at home. In the case of our organization, we're thinking 25 to 30% maximum. And the protocol that we're trying to work with the special economic zone right now is actually a protocol that is going to protect the rental industry, not the opposite as what some people may think.
Right, because a lot of the conversation started because of those.
So if a company,
I was saying a lot of the conversation started because of the whole concept of work from home, and whether that's likely to affect the amount of footprint that tenants are, particularly tenants in your sector, which I think has been able to keep the new Kingston and some other areas, Portmore, Montego Bay, keep those commercial office space is buoyant for the last, maybe 5 to 8 years. So the issue is, will you need more space? Is it that you're going to downsize? There are a number of things. I know prior to the pandemic, Jamaica was always seen as the ideal location for the ICT sector. Is that the same? And how do you see that happening, continuing?
So if I'm to add on what I was saying a while ago, is that our goal is to protect the commercial marketplace. Anybody that is going to be allowed to operate at work at home with the same fiscal benefits that we receive today must be a special economic zone company approved and must have the physical space for 100% of your employees, even though you're going to have some working at home during periods of time, with a maximum of that being 40%. So fret not that, the intention is to maintain what we have here today. And we've actually lost about 7,000 jobs, and our goal is in the shortest possible time. How do we get back that 7,000 jobs as a country, especially with what how other industries have been affected far more than ours in this pandemic. The second aspect of your question in regards to what does the future look like? So I think Jamaica's future is going to continue to be bright and is going to continue to grow in this sector. And I say that because, the pandemic is a perfect example. A large majority of many companies, whether they operate in Jamaica or outside of Jamaica, their work was being done out of the Philippines. Philippines has over 1 million jobs in this industry. So Jamaica has 40,000, and now since the pandemic about 33. Philippines has 1 million. And through the pandemic, they've only been able to operate at 10% of their capacity, so 100,000. So that's why many companies were scurrying to bring jobs back onshore in the US, push to other vendors of theirs that have delivery centers in other parts of the world in order to continue to operate their business. Now, when you look at travel time to the Philippines, it's a minimum of 18 hours. And when you look at travel time to Jamaica from New York, Chicago, maximum 3-4 hours. People are not going to want to travel 18 hours anymore and wear a mask for 18 hours. And that is the MO for the distant future that we all can see right in front of us. So when you look at the diversity of this region, so Jamaica being a part of that, and a big part of it because of our sheer size and scale, is they're going to spread more of that business throughout this region. So, Caribbean, Latin America, South America, which Jamaica could be one of the larger beneficiaries of that, given our sheer size. So the only countries that are bigger than Jamaica in this region right now is Dominican Republic and Colombia. From an English speaking perspective. Every other country in Jamaica is at a similar size and a similar or slightly larger population. So we certainly have the opportunity to continue to grow. And with the protocols that we're working on with the government, is that facilities are always going to be a part of our growth.
Right. So what I'm taking away from this is that there could be demand for more space in the future.
I would say there will be demand, not could be demand.
There will be. Okay. With great certainty. Well, that's good to hear. The issue though then is, if you're having your operating costs increase, is there an implication for rent, for rates?
I most certainly think so. Every one of us are going to have to take a hit together. Jermaine made a point earlier that is key. Getting through this pandemic is about partnerships, and a partnership between the landlord and the lessor and the lessee is going to be key, right? So you may have to look at the cost of the rental space. The maintenance might have to be worked out and work more on a partnership, more just of it being on the landlord than the lessee. But I do think that rental rates will have to take a hit. We're all going to have to be trading some cash for business. We need to meet our debt covenants and our mortgage rates and fees and so on. So there is definitely going to be a hit, but I think the opportunity for growth is still there.
Right. That's encouraging somewhat. Jermaine, quickly, we talk a lot about the ICT sector, and those are entities that tend to demand huge amount of square footage to operate. What is happening on the smaller office sector? How do you see them being affected by the pandemic?
Well, it will be similar. It will be similar, and as I pointed out earlier, that some businesses that are outside the category of the essential services will be experiencing significant cuts in revenues. If you're earning less, your ability to pay will be affected. And as one of the common cost-cutting measures, people will look at, the area of operation, and if you need that much. Mm-hmm. So, we are expecting that the rent to take a hit, as Yanni said just now.
Right. Now, location has always been a critical thing in real estate. Realtors will tell you location. And this is for you, Stanley. I've always looked at industrial properties, in more developed economies, and most of them tend to be located sort of in remote areas. The idea is that you can actually reach different areas easier because of its geographic location. It's not in an urban core. Why is it that more industrial properties aren't located in the middle of the island, where you can actually reach every part of the island, in a reduced travel time?
Yeah. Well, thanks for the question, and good afternoon again. Thanks for having me. There are a couple reasons for that. If you look at Jamaica, Jamaica is not flat, but the main thing is that about 45% of the island's population live between Kingston and St. Catherine. So you have a concentration of the population in a particular area. And when you're siting your facilities, you want to site the closest to the larger markets, and that's the case in Jamaica. The other thing is that if you look at our major ports of entry, sea and airports, those are located on the Kingston side of the island, So it makes sense for a manufacturer importer to site their locations close to the port facilities.
Right. So outside of location, what were some of the things that you saw in pre-pandemic? What was happening in the industrial property space?
Well, over the last, if I go pre-pandemic, I'd say before the pandemic, over the last 15 years, we have seen a steady move towards the construction of larger warehousing facilities. I'll give you an example. In the late 1990s, a large warehouse would be approximately 60,000 square feet. Today, a large warehouse is approximately 200,000 square feet. And you see this trend in the average size of new supermarkets as well. So some of our listeners who shop at supermarkets and are old enough to recall will remember that about 15 years ago, a 20,000 square foot supermarket was the norm. Today, new supermarkets don't make sense below 60,000 square feet. People want space and so on. So that's the trend, I think. I was seeing pre-COVID. So I expect that to continue.
Right. So it's mainly been larger warehouses. And again, I come back to location. Where are those large warehouses located? Because if you look at Portside, there aren't a lot of properties, not enough land space that can accommodate a 200,000, 300,000 square foot warehouse. Mm-hmm. Isn't location going to become an important factor there? Where are some of those large warehouses going to be located?
Yeah, so what we're seeing, and if you look at developments between, let's say just the Mandela Highway, for example, or out in White Mart in St. Catherine, what you're seeing is the larger manufacturers and distributors are citing new locations in those areas. And it's really for two reasons. The land space is available,
Right.
to put up larger facilities. And usually once you come outside of the densely built up urban areas, the cost of land is relatively lower. But they still have the opportunity of quick access to the main populations, just a few miles in. So we're seeing right along the Mandela corridor in the St. Catherine area, the development of larger facilities to manage manufacturing, distribution, operations, current needs.